object oriented programming. It's nothing but it's called as what? Oops. Okay. And from till now we studied only function, right? And today what are you doing, right? From function to what? We were diving up to what? Objects. Okay, let's see. And so far we have all learned what about variables, right? What is variable? Variable to what? To store the data in what? In the particular memory location. And function. What is function? To perform some actions. Okay, in function there are what? Built-in function also, user defined function also. That function what will do? Action, right? Okay, that's what powerful combination. Okay, and today we are going to what? Learn a new way organize your code that will make that lives much easier of your programs get bigger, right? So we're using the object oriented program. Your program become what? Less number of instructions. Okay, we are going to what? Take first step what? Object oriented programming. And old way, what? Let's see the old way using the what? Function. Then we declare what is the beauty of the object oriented programming, the separate data and functions. Okay, imagine you want what? Store some information, right? About what? Like let me take what example, what? Student. Okay, when student and then now, okay, the student introduce themselves using what we know that called as what? Variables and function we learned from still the sessions. Okay, let's start. You can do like this one. Okay, if you want for student data for what? One. Okay, I want data for what? Student one. So I'm taking what here? Student one name. Okay, what is the student one name is? Alice. Okay, and the student one ID is also there. What is that? 101. Okay, I'm taking for data for what? Student two. Okay, and student two name is what? Bob. Okay, and student two ID is what? 102. Okay, these are what I'm taking for data for student one and student two. Okay, after that we write function, right, to perform what? Some action with what? Our data. Okay, I'm taking one defining function. This function is what? User defined function. Okay, I'm taking what? Def, defining the function. I'm naming what function name is what? Introduce. Okay, I'm passing some parameters. What are the parameters? Name and student ID. Okay, after that I'm printing. What is printing? Hello, my name is what? This one name, and my ID is what? This function ID. Okay, if I want what student one, I will call with what? Student one name and student one ID. This is what calling with what? Arguments. Okay, and I'm again calling what? For student two. Okay, this is the process what when you using what? Function and variables. Okay, let's run this and connect it to my kernel. Okay, can see right? Is workout. My name is what? Alice and my ID is what? 101. And hello, my name is what? Bob and my ID is what? 102. This is how it will work using what? Function and variables. Okay. What is the problem here? We can see right that is what bit messy. Okay. The data can be a student one name and student one ID is completely separate from what? Function when we call in the introduce. Okay. That uses what? If we have the 100 students, we have to what? We have to will full 200 variables like that student one, student 200, like the student one name, student 100 name, student one data, student one like ID, student 100 ID, like that. You have to mention what? 200 variables for 100 students. It's like what? Is it not will be used? It is not easy, but you can get the what? Confusion and password wrong data to the function also, right? To overcome that problem, we're using what? Object oriented programming. Okay, it would be what? Like a nice if you could group the student data and function together into what? One neat little package. Okay, we're doing one package. Okay, that will package contains all student data. Okay, using that package we can do extract the data, like that the beauty of what? Object oriented programming. Okay, the new way is what? Object oriented programming. Let's see what is object oriented programming. Object oriented programming is what? Programming paradigm. Okay, centered around what? Concept of objects. Okay, this objects what? Can hold what? Data. Okay, in form of what? Attributes or properties. Attributes is nothing but your variables. Okay, and properties means that the requirements. Okay, and they what can perform what actions like your functions. Okay, through what methods. Okay, in what I mean, when you do the Python regular Python programming, traditional Python programming, this function called as what function only. But in object-oriented programming, the function is called as what methods. Okay, and the primary goal of OOPS is bundle of data and function that operate on them together into what single unit. That called as what class. Let's see the what are the core concept of the OOPS. OOPS is nothing but object-oriented programming. Remember that one. Okay. And we will cover the following fundamental concept. And these are the what core concept of your OOPS. Okay. That is what are the there are six core concepts that are what class, object, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, abstraction. For today, we'll cover what class and object neatly. Then you can neatly understand. Okay. And this is the main idea of what hoops. We create what blueprint for what the student will like what the blueprint what is a say class. Okay, let me create what on blueprint. And the blueprint is nothing but your class. Let's see what is class. Okay, class is nothing but what your blueprint. Okay, is what class is what a is a template. Okay, for creating what things. Okay, and class is also what your blueprint. Okay, for creating what objects. It defines what the set of attributes and methods. Okay, methods nothing but your actions. Okay, nothing but your functions. Okay, attributes means nothing but your set of variables, set of data like that. Okay, and taking what I'm a real time example, then you can easily understand. Okay, consider one concept of you have in the car, right? Okay, the car comes contain what some properties. What are the properties like the car having what color, brand, model, and it can perform some actions like that, starting, accelerating, and braking. You can indeed in this concept you get to know right, color, brand, and model. These are what your attributes or properties. Okay, and perform some actions. Like the actions nothing but your function, right? That is what starting, accelerating, and braking. These are what methods. Okay, and car like the car is what this is car, right? The car is what class. Okay, is class containing what collection of objects. Okay, you should what define what these common attributes and action. Remember the class definition. That is what the class is a blueprint of creating what object or class is nothing but it's a collection of what objects. Okay, and this is the syntax. Okay, just see. Okay, do not confuse. I will explain when you're doing the examples. You get to know understand neatly. This is what basic syntax. Okay, this I'm taking what class. This is what keyword. When I define what class as a keyword, the system know we are using what class. Okay, after that you have to write what class name. After that you have to end with what colon. When you enter that, it automatically what take what indentation. Okay, indentation is most important. If not take, you have to give the indentation. That is what using what four spaces or one tab space. Okay, and after that you have to mention what your class attributes. Attributes nothing but your properties. Okay, I'm taking about first attribute is equal to what value. Like that you have to mention your attributes. Okay, after that you have to use init method. I will explain later this one. This is init method is called as what one beautiful method that is called as what action method that is called as what constructor. Okay, okay, I'm using what def like I'm using what init method, right? So I have to use what init. Now before that you init you have to use what here continuous to underscore then init, and after that you have to use what continuous to underscore. After that you have to use what you have to use what parenthesis. Then after you have what pass the some parameters. I'm using here what self is also one keyword. So this is what one beautiful when I'm using the self, the system knows that is what your constructor. Simple thing, remember when you're using the init you have to use what self as a what one parameter. Okay, it's like a default value for your init method when using the constructor. Okay, don't confuse what is constructor, what is self. I will explain neatly explain. I don't worry. Okay, I'm passing some parameter. That is what parameter one and parameter two. Okay. After that, you have to mention what instant attributes, and after that, you have to what doing this what self dot using what dot operator and pass some parameters. That is what parameter one is equal to what parameter one, and self dot parameter two is equal to what parameter two. Nothing but we are creating with objects. I think nothing but okay. And after that, you have to create what one method. Okay, I'm defining that one defining using ref, and after that, you have to mention what method name. After that, self comma what arguments. Okay, after that, you have to use what pass. When using the pass, the class is created. Okay, this is what simple syntax. Okay, don't worry, I will explain neatly. Okay, let's continue to the student example. That is what student one data, student one name, student. Okay, student one ID. That example we continue now. Okay, our student what class will what with the blueprint. It says what every student must be what have the name and ID, right? Okay, and every student must know what how to introduce themselves. Okay, this is what basic thing. Okay, let's do object. Let's see the what is the object. The object is nothing but the real thing. Remember, class is what? Class is what? Blueprint and collection of what? Objects. Okay. Object is nothing but your real thing. That is nothing but your real entity. Okay. What is object? Let's see. An object is what? Actual thing. It's nothing but things. Okay. And we create what? From what? From the what? Blueprint. Like that. If you build what? Like the if you want planning to build what home. Okay, if you want to build home, you will get the blueprint, right? So through seeing that blueprint, we create what home. Like that, using the class blueprint, we create some objects. Okay, it's nothing but an object is what actual thing. We create what from what blueprint. Okay, and object is what your instance of class. Okay, when class is defined, the no memory is allocated until what the an object is that what class is created. Okay, and each object should be what is unique state, like that. Each object what they having what own unique state. Okay, that unique state is nothing but your value of its attributes. Attributes is nothing but your properties, like that. When you use in the car having properties like that, what color, okay, like that, the properties. Okay, if you take the student, like a student name, student ID, and introduce themselves and other details like that, right? These are what attributes. And but says what some behavior like that. That's nothing but your action that called as what your methods. Okay, so these are what defined by the class. This is what object. Okay, remember simple. Okay, we know if what object means what nothing but your real thing, or object is what instance of a class, or object is what real entity. Okay, if you guys what class means, it's a collection of objects or it's a blueprint. Okay. Let me take the car example here, then you can easily understand. Okay, we have specific red tato, what a Toyota car name. Okay, we are having that car. Okay, it's what object of an what car, right? Okay, that is what class. Okay, let me take the another object could be what we are blue Ford Mustang. Is what one is another object that are what both are cars. Okay, that can be in the car class. Okay, but there are different specific properties, right? Okay, let's see the with a beautiful example here using taken a diagram. Okay, I'm taking one car. I'm creating one car. What is car? Is a what class. That car having some other properties, right? That called as what attributes. That what are the attribute here? Color, brand, and model. These are what attributes. Then they are car having what some actions, right? That actions are called as what methods. Okay, the method are what start, accelerate, brake. These are what action in the car. Okay. Okay, this is a simple thing you have to remember. The class is what, attributes are what, methods are what, like that. Okay. And let's create what here objects. Okay. And I'm creating what objects here. Okay. There are so many different types of cars there. So I'm creating one from the what class what car class. I'm creating what here some objects. What are the different cars, right? So I'm creating what first Carmi car. That what that called as what Carmi object. That having the some properties, right? That is what color is red and brand is what Toyota and model is what Camry. Like that. After that, I'm creating another one car that is what Mustang object, and that car has carving what color blue and brand is what Ford and model is what Mustang. Okay, let's take another objects, that is what Varna object, that is nothing but Varna model, and color is what white, and brand is what IND, and the model is what Varna. These are what objects. Okay, this is to you have to remember. Okay, remember what we did. We're creating one car. That is what class. Car having one some properties, right? That called as what attributes. And car is having some actions, right? That called as what methods. Nothing but your functions. Okay, then we create what some objects that are nothing but your types of cars. Okay, and the one on type of cars, there are the different properties, right? Like that we mentioned here. Okay, then this is the creating what class, attributes, methods, and objects. Okay, let's continue with that student example. Okay, what is the student example? That is student one name and student one ID, like that. We continue that example. Okay, so Alice what would be what here? One student object, right? Okay, and Bob is what? Would be what? Another student object. Okay, which object is what? A neat package containing what? Its own data and its what? Own function. Like that, it will be work. Okay, let's see that example here. Beautifully, you can understand neatly. Okay, first step is what? We have to create what? On blueprint. That is what? The class. So I'm creating here what? Using work keyword is what? Class. Okay. So I want to use what? Class keyword. And after that, you have to mention what? Class name. What is your class name? Student. After that, end with what? Colon. Okay. I'm taking here what? One special initializer. It runs what? Automatically whenever we create what? New student object. Okay. That's nothing but initializer function. And what initializer function you are using what? Init method. Okay. Which job is what? Is to set up what? Object with its starting data. Like that, it should be work easily and it will post the data. Okay. I'm using what method? Initializer function. Okay. That having one keyword called as what? Init. Okay, to create that one, let me show you, then you can easily understand. Okay, and what I'm doing here, class. Okay, after that, I'm doing what? Student name. Okay, I'm doing what? Student. Then, okay, why I'm student? Student, let me take here, student. Okay, then what I'm doing here, I have to use what? On tab space. Then I have to what? Def. To create init method, what I have to use means, you what? Two times underscore continuously. Remember that one. That is what I'm taking here. What underscore? This first underscore, then second underscore. Then you have to mention what init. Then after that, continue with two underscore. Okay, one and two, like that. After this is what how to create what initializer function method. So after that, you have to open what one bracket. I have to mention what when you using what init method, when you using the class, you have to mention what self force what force the data. Okay, then you have to mention what some parameters, that is what correspond to your requirements. Okay, let me do here. Okay, initializer you know, right? After that, you are using what def init what. After that, I'm passing some parameters, that is what self name and student ID. What is self? Self is what special keyword. It refers what to the what object being created. When you want to create what some object, you have to use what self method. Okay, after when using what initializer. Okay, that is nothing but your init. Okay, and the line below means the take the name and we are going to store it. Okay, when we name and we are taking the name, right, and student ID, right, I am taking to store that names and to store that what student IDs in that what objects. Okay, in that what we are called as what is one object we are creating, and this is also called as what parameters. Okay, and its object is after own variable. After that, you have to create what own variable, right? So I'm taking what self dot name is equal to what name. It's nothing but we creating what our their own variable. Okay, then after what again self dot student ID is equal to what student ID. It's nothing but we creating the one variable to store that what object. Okay, then we have to print that new student object for what self dot name has been created. Like that, when we add the one data to the that object, and nothing that we are nothing to a class or package, when we adding the new data, we will create what new student object for self.name has been created. It should be displayed. Okay. And this function it belongs to what? Class. And we call it what? This one? Method. Okay. It automatically knows what? About the object's own data through what? Self. It's not, remember, okay, this is what we create in the class. When we use the def, it called as what? Method. Okay, is that nothing but you're doing what function, right? In the when you're doing the function, use a define function, built-in function like that. When we're doing the class, when we define some function, right? That function is called as what? Method. Okay, then it automatically what your proves the knows about your object's own data through what your self is created on self, right? That have the own data and they have the own variable that can hold the object details. Okay, I'm creating one action that is what here def introduce yourself. That is what self. I'm using here what self as the or I'm taking that self as a default value available for the object. That is what your special keyword refer to what object being created. Okay, then I am printing what here hello. My name is what self dot name and my ID is what self dot student ID. You have to practice this one, then you can easily write the program. Okay, using what I am here, I'm using here what f string method. Okay, after that I have to mention, right? I'm taking what here self dot name because here created an object that is what self dot name. I'm taking here that one. Next, I'm taking what self dot student ID. I'm taking here what my ID is what self dot student ID. This is for n. We can create n number of data. We get the no errors. We'll get easily get to the easily access to that one. Okay, and let's see the what our blueprint. Let's see our blueprint and create what some actual object from the this for blueprint. So I'm printing what creating student one. I'm doing what here creating one student one. That is what I'm taking here was student one is equal to what student of. So I'm taking here what student of nothing but your I'm calling what your class. Okay, that class is containing what name. Name is what in method string method. Okay, that is string data type. And I'm in another one another parameter that is what student ID. That is what int. Okay, like that. So after that, I'm when I calling the student, no need to mention what your student what name is equal to what name. When using the function, it's a irritation method, right? So when you're using the object, you can easily create that one. So I'm calling here what on class. After the class, you directly can pass your variable. Okay, that nothing but your values. I'm taking here what first name is what Alice and student name is what Alice and student ID is what 101. This creates what object and call it what in method. Okay, then I'm again what creating what student two. That is for student two is equal to what student of Bob, comma one or two like that. No need to what mention your student two, student one. You can directly pass what student of these values and student of these values like that. Okay. And after that, the time for your introduction that you will ask your object perform their actions. Okay. Nothing but your student introduce their themselves. Okay. Like that. You have to how to data analyze the one common data is already bundled inside what student one. Okay. We don't need to what need to pass it as to the action. We can call it when we store this variable to what on student one, right? And this also stored into what student two. So when I call what student one dot introduce yourself, this action will be performed. And when I do in the student two dot introduce yourself, the action will be performed. And let's run this can see right the creating student one created that is what the new student object for your allies has been created. Next the new student of object for Bob is has been created like that. Next time for introduction hello my name is for allies and my ID is for 101 and hello my name is for Bob and my ID is for 102. Okay, after that doing all these things you can do like this without comments like it will be look. Okay, class student, definite self name. Next after that, you're using what self name dot name. As well as self is what your special keyword just to that was to that we start as an object we created. Okay, then we object name we can create in what object name. Then the student ID. Then we creating what message for performance action that is the student is added like that. Okay. And I'm doing some actions. I'm doing what introduce yourself. So that will introduce our with using what student details. Okay, I'm creating a student one and student with the student two. I like that. And we're printing what times of introduction and student one that you are introduce yourself and student two in what introduce yourself. Like that, it will be look. Okay. And again, I am running this. Can see right? It's created. And like that, after that, I'm using here what? Let me take, we can, the student is created, right? Okay, the case sensitive is very, very important. Student is capital, right? Okay, I'm passing here what? Student. Okay, this is what? Class. So I'm taking here what? I'm calling that class. Okay, I'm passing some values. That is what? That should be a string, right? I'm passing my name. That is what? Akshay. Okay, after that, automation what? Student ID. Student ID, I'm giving what? Let me take 105. Okay, let's run this. Can see that the new object for the Akshay has been created. Okay, this is the object is will be created. Okay, we can store that one into what? One variable. Let me take is t3. Can see it. The new student object has been Akshay has been created, and this variable be stored in what? st3. So I have to do perform what? Some action, right? So I'm calling here what? st3 dot what? I'm using what? Introduce yourself. Okay. So after that, I will run this. Can see it? And the data is be stored. I'm doing some action. That is what? My name is what? Akshay, and my ID is what? 105. Like that, it will be work. Okay. Let me do what another example, then you can easily understand. Okay, I'm taking here what one car, created one car example, right? And shown in a diagram, right? Let me doing the what one car example. That is what you are defining one class with the what is the class name here? Car. Let me do declare what some attributes. What is that? Vehicle type is equal to what? Four wheeler. A car should be what? Having what? Vehicle type is what? Four wheeler. Okay, this is the basic thing. And we designing what? Some initializer, that is init method, some that nothing but your some car having some properties, right? So I'm passing the some that attributes. So init method, when using the init, you have to mention what? Self, which must and should. Otherwise you get what? Error. Okay. Then I'm taking what? Color, comma, brand, comma, model. Then I'm using what? Self dot color is equal to what? Color, and brand is equal to brand, and self dot model is equal to model. Self dot is started is equal to false. Okay, this started is nothing but is car is started or not. Initially, what I'm doing, what car is off. Okay, let's do and define some doing some what actions. It's nothing but your methods. Okay, and def starts. I'm doing action, right. Automation what self. Okay, and after that, if not self is started, self is started is equal to what true. Okay, this checking is not started means nothing but is false means it will be self is started means it will car will be started. It's nothing but we are giving what here true. Then will be written what self dot brand and self dot model is what started. It's nothing but here self dot brand will come to the brand name and self dot model that will be the model name and it will be as started will be like that it will be work. Then I'm doing returning again the self dot brand is already running. If already is running, it will for the already running. Otherwise, you go to the this method. Okay, this line will be printed. Otherwise, this line will be printed. Nothing but your if and else condition like that. Okay. And I'm doing another one action that is what nothing but accelerate. I have to do accelerate, right? Initially, I'm doing what self as a parameter, and if self is what is started, and the self that the brand model and is what accelerating. Okay, if not started, it will return what you need to what start the car first. Okay, like that will be displayed. Okay, and again, I am doing what another one action that is what break. Okay, and def break of self. I'm returning what the car self dot brand and self dot model is what breaking. Like that, it will be work. Okay, and see, I'm creating some object here, nothing but your core models. Okay, I'm taking here what my car me as a variable, and I'm taking what here car, and first I'm passing what here color. Okay, this car having some what properties, right? That is what first should be what color, then should be what brand, then should be what model. That is not all type should be what string. Okay, string should be what when you passing the string, it should be what enclosed with what single quotes or double quotes. Okay, first color car color is what red, and car what car model car brand is what Toyota, and car model is what Camry. Next, I'm taking another one that is what my Mustang. and car I'm calling that one class, then passing some color of that is blue, then is brand is for Ford, and your model is for Mustang. Okay, this is created, the class will object will be created. Then when we access those attributes and calling that methods, that be nothing but your first car is what? Then we have car me color and car me brand and car without my car without model. Like that should be what created. And I'm printing what my car me dot start. Like that I'm passing what starting. Okay. And my car me dot accelerate. I'm doing that some actions. Okay. Then I'm doing what here? Mustang dot start and Mustang dot break. Let's run this and connecting to my kernel. You can see right, must car, the first car is for red Toyota Carmi. The Toyota car is static and Toyota Carmi is first accelerating. My second car is what? It's a blue Ford Mustang and my Ford Mustang is as started and Ford Mustang is what? Is braking. Like that it will be work beautifully using whatever of object-oriented programming. Is today we learned what class and object. Okay, and what we did today, and we saw something keeping the data and function is separate can be that can be messy, right? So we overcome that one using what object-oriented programming. We designed somewhat student blueprint and car blueprint. That is nothing but your class and to what student data or car data in the car class, and it can be your name, student ID, what student data and actions, nothing but you introduce yourself. In car, we created some like the car color, brand, model, then actioning like that, accelerate, start, and braking. Like that, we created, right? And together in one place. And we created what? Some real student, Alice and Bob, and we are separated what? As a this name is nothing but us. We create a separate variable that called as what? Objects. And from here, our what we see using what blueprint we can create easily, like nothing but using your blueprint, creating your home. Okay. And each object of the remember its own information, it could introduce your itself and without any confusion. Okay. And this is a very first most important idea in object oriented programming. The class and the object should be what? Remember neatly. Then only go to the another core concept. Okay. This is for long just writing what list of instruction and we are creating what smart objects that manage what themselves. Okay. This is the beauty of your object oriented programming. Okay, let's stop here.